All right, let's try this again. A little quick tour of Medellin. This is where I live. That's my window. And they're redoing the sidewalks, so we'll have fresh sidewalk. Unluckily for me, I am leaving Medellin in 4 days. So I won't get to see the fresh sidewalk and the refreshed neighborhood, but they seem to be putting in a lot of money to the city and making everything look nice. So let's go to Envigado, and that's on the other side of town. So we'll get to see a little traffic, a little lane splitting, and we'll figure out if my new microphone placement makes the sound quality any better. So, I happen to live in a very normal part of town, but very close to here are the nice areas. So you can see here on the left, that is El Poblado, and that highway that goes up the mountains, that's Via de las Palmas. I think it's a via or whatever, it's Las Palmas, and that takes you up to the main airport in Rio Negro. And right here to my right is the local airport that only serves small flights and small commuter planes. And Medellin is very motorcycle friendly. As you can see here, they even have motogruas. So these are the guys that'll come and rescue you, tow your bike, even as they get cut off by the crazy motorcycle drivers. I have to say, traffic is fairly insane in Colombia, but I'm not as afraid of the vehicles as I was in the States. Most car drivers are pretty aware that there's a gazillion motorcycles all around them, and they're usually pretty good at checking their mirrors and figuring out where you are and making sure they don't hit you. And most of them seem to know the size of their vehicle fairly well, so they can maneuver in tight spaces. Not like in the States where everybody thinks they're driving an 18-wheeler even if they're driving a Fiat Mini. So here we're crossing that's the metro station, the main river. And we're going to cross into a part of town called El Poblado. And this part of town is the expensive part of town. And let's see if Fiona can fit here. Oh, yes, she can. Good girl. And motorcycles are awesome here. You can pretty much go anywhere you can fit. And that's pretty nice because you get to cut through traffic. But some spots are a little too tight. So I've been in Colombia for 8 months. Really fallen in love with the place. People are super friendly. Medellin let's start with the weather. It's extremely hot for people from here when it gets above, let's say, 75 Fahrenheit, which I believe is like 26 Celsius or something like that. And it's very cold for people here when it goes below, let's say, 60 Fahrenheit, which would be what, 20 Celsius? Because the weather is always perfect. And I've gotten kind of used to it. I'm really loving never having to really wear anything thicker than like a very light windbreaker. And always being able to go in jeans or in shorts or whatever the heck I feel most like wearing that day, because the weather is always good and it doesn't really matter what you wear. Winter. So winter here is the rainy season. Temperature doesn't change much, but it does rain. And everything around the city is pretty lush and green. The land is extremely fertile here, so pretty much anything that you want to grow will grow. And here we are at Parque del Poblado. This is where people start gathering up. It is Thursday night and already everybody's over here at the park having a drink right next to the police station. And let's go here. And it's really odd. Everywhere I've been, there's lots of Argentinians traveling, backpacking, making money selling trinkets, or like this guy, just doing something at the stoplights. I actually met that guy and had some drinks with him at the park. Seems like the Argentinians know how to travel on the cheap. Strap on a backpack, take a little bit of money with you and work at the hostel, and then get some money off the streets or whatever you need to do to sell or buy and sell or something. I think it's pretty admirable, the way to do it. And here we're going through the Milla de Oro, the Golden Mile. This is where all the big corporations and insurance places and fancy hotels and international business area, yada yada, whatever. Anyhow, fancy part of town. Oh, and like I was saying about traffic, not so worried about getting hit by a car. Way more worried about getting hit by one of these absolutely insane 125cc motorcycle or scooter drivers that just don't care and just, like, they'll go anywhere. That bus is turning there, no problem. Right next to them. And they sometimes just sneak up on you, and there's really nothing you can do. They're just on your side, and they don't mind sharing the lane with you. So we're headed to Envigado. We're on Avenida del Poblado. And just a couple of weeks ago, I was right at this intersection, probably right about this spot, when I was going to start sliding into some cars in between like that, just going like that, and I got pretty close to the middle. There's a guy on a smaller bike. Pretty rickety bike, looked like it was stolen. And I decided against going in between the cars in front of all these other little motorcycles just because I get stuck riding a big German plus-sized bike with big-ass panniers. And so a lot of times I'll be lane splitting and just can't go any further because I'm too wide. And so all these little bikes that could fit get stuck behind me. So I usually let them all go in front of me, and that way I can go in the back, let them all get through, and then if I can get through, great, and if I can't, then I'll just wait it out. Anyhow, so this guy, he's right on my right, and I'm just about to go into the lane splitting area when I look at him and I go, you know, go ahead, you'll fit better. And oh, okay. And anyhow, he looks at me and he says, no, you go ahead. And I'm thinking, oh, nice guy. I reply to him, I'm like, no, dude, your bike's way narrower. You can go further than I can. And he gives me the look of, I want to murder you. I'm just like, well, what an ungrateful bastard. So, anyhow, he insists I go first, and I tell him, nope, you go first. Yep. And so he does, but he gives me the look of death. And so I continue. And right about when I was ready to get to that stoplight up here, coming up, another couple of small bikes come up. Oh, that looks like it hurt. So anyhow, just as I'm about to pull up here, right about probably a little bit further, I'm sneaking through in between the cars, and this guy in a brand new V-Storm, I think it's 1100. Anyhow, very nice, expensive bike. Right here where I'm just crossing. He's up in the front, and these three bikes, including that one guy that gave me the evil look and refused to go first, are standing next to him, holding revolvers in their hands. They look like toy guns. They're probably like caliber 22 or something tiny like that, but nonetheless, firearms. And they pointed the gun at the guns at the guy. He got off the bike and let him have it. Then they asked him for his cell phone, wallet, and I'm about 4 or 5 cars behind, watching all of this, thinking, shit, that guy wanted me to go first. I was the target. But this guy on the V-Strom just got the unlucky, I guess, chance or bad luck, whatever you want to call it, and wasn't me. So, moral of the story: be nice even when people are being dicks to you. You never know how or when it's gonna pay off. And pretty safe to say that was the smart move for me, to just let it slide instead of being like, I don't know, angry or bothered about it. Not very many things anger me or bother me right now. Been on the road for a year and I think 3 months. So my stress level's pretty low. Life is pretty good. And the only thing I'm kind of bothered about is leaving Medellin. really fell in love with this city. It's super nice. People are friendly. And somehow they always let me to the front of the line. I'm surprised nobody started asking questions like, where are you from? What size of bike do you have? Is that really a BMW? No, you didn't come from the States. Is that really a 1200? I don't even correct people anymore. I just agree and go on. Seems pretty selfish not to want to share, but it gets also pretty annoying answering the same 10-15 questions day after day. Yoo-hoo! Alright, let's see if we can fit. Come on, Fiona. Get skinny. Good girl. Oh, dope. Can't fit there. Oh well. So, anyhow, pretty friendly city for motorcycles. The cops rarely, if ever, stop me, and if they do, it's because I truly, truly, truly deserve to be stopped. Been stopped 3 times. First time I think I was doing 90 miles an hour, which works out to be 140, I think, kilometers an hour. Maybe more than that, maybe 160. In 80 kilometer an hour zone, which works out to be like 55. So yeah, I deserved it. And as soon as the cop saw my documents and the license plate, he just wanted to talk about the bike and the trip. Oh, and let's cut to the front of the line. Yoo-hoo! And didn't give me a ticket, wished me well on my way, told me to slow down, and that was it. Second time I got stopped, kind of the same thing, on the way to Cartagena, and there the limit, it's actually a nice big freeway, but speed limit's still 100 kilometers an hour, which now I can see 100 kilometers an hour works out to be 60. Okay, so that time I was doing 100 miles an hour, which is 160 kilometers an hour. And they got me on the radar, pulled me over, and I happened to have both the Mexican and the American passport, and that one day the guy asked me for my documents, and then he said, oh, you're a foreigner, you got American plates, show me your passport. And the first one that came out of my bag was the Mexican one, and all he wanted to talk about was Chespirito, which if you're Latin, you know who Chavo del Ocho is. And anyhow, it's a sitcom type thing that's famous all over Latin America, and it's from Mexico. And I guess that cop had a happy childhood, and he said he loved Mexico because of that. Let me go. So, anyhow, now we're in Envigado, and we're gonna visit my friend Lena. She has a hair salon, and oh shoot, she must have already closed. Oh no, she's still open. And so this is a pretty typical neighborhood. You got the drinking hole in the corner / corner store. Little corner stores everywhere. And this is a pretty middle class neighborhood. Not the worst, not the best. Just kind of middle of the road. I wouldn't mind living here. And let's say hello to Lena. Oh, she's about to close. Oh, and I got a nifty little cell phone holder, which is pretty cool, but everybody keeps telling me at the stoplights, like, dude, don't carry that there. Somebody's just going to snag it. And, I don't know. I'm not too worried about it. Maybe I should be, but oh well. Haven't gotten anything stolen except for in Mexico, where they stole my top box, and my dad was kind enough to ship another one that I had in storage, so I've replaced it. So, no big deal. ¿Aló? ¿Qué pasa? ¿Cómo estás? ¿Todo bien?
Ya.
¿Lista para cocinar? And that takes you up to the main airport in Rio Negro. And right here to my right is the local airport that only serves small flights and small commuter planes. And Medellin is very motorcycle friendly. As you can see here, they even have motogruas. So these are the guys that'll come and rescue you, tow your bike, even as they get cut off by the crazy motorcycle drivers. I have to say, traffic is fairly insane in Colombia, but I'm not as afraid of the vehicles as I was in the States. Most car drivers are pretty aware that there's a gazillion motorcycles all around them, and they're usually pretty good at checking their mirrors and figuring out where you are and making sure they don't hit you. Alright, let's try this again. A little quick tour of Medellin. This is where I live. That's my window. And they're redoing the sidewalks, so we'll have fresh sidewalk. Unluckily for me, I am leaving Medellin in 4 days. So I won't get to see the fresh sidewalk and the refreshed neighborhood, but they seem to be putting in a lot of money to the city and making everything look nice. So let's go to Envigado, and that's on the other side of town. So we'll get to see a little traffic, a little lane splitting, and we'll figure out if my new microphone placement makes the sound quality any better. So, I happen to live in a very normal part of town, but very close to here are the nice areas. So you can see here on the left, that is Poblado, and that highway that goes up the mountains, that's Via de las Palmas. I think it's a via or whatever, it's Las Palmas.